Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into an electrifying World Championship clash from 2024, featuring Ding Liren commanding the white pieces against young prodigy Gukesh D wielding black. Ding goes c4, aiming for a broad pawn center. Gukesh counters with e5. The knight jumps to c3, shadowed by black's bishop sliding to b4, adding pressure on the knight. This game unfolds the English opening, specifically the King's English variation, with a keen Kramnik-Shirov counterattack. Ding's knight leaps to d5, Gukesh retreats his bishop to e7. Post a knight f3 move and pawn advances d6 and g3, we see a swap on e7 as Ding's knight takes Gukesh's bishop, which is recaptured by the black knight. The position leans towards white, who has potential for queenside expansion and center control. Black's task is to counteract this, develop pieces effectively, and create counterplay, particularly on the queenside. Ding advances his bishop to g2, castle kingside after black's f6 and b6. With b3 and ba3, Ding solidifies queenside, while Gukesh establishes central control with d5 and completes his kingside castling. In this evenly contested game, black needs to focus on countering white's central control, exploiting any passive moves, and maintaining flexibility for queenside counterplay and tactical possibilities. Ding moves his rook to c1, anticipating action on the queenside as Gukesh pushes a5. A strategic knight retreat by Ding and a rook move from Gukesh lead to a dynamic pawn clash, resulting in an open c-file and an active black knight on g6. Black is setting a tactical snare here. The knight on g6 is eyeing the rook on f4, ready to pounce. If white overlooks this, black would shift the game from a balance to a decisive advantage. White's rook retreats to e4, dodging the knight's threat while maneuvering his knight into a central outpost on d4. As black repositions his pieces, focusing on queenside activity, white solidifies his pawn structure with d3, setting up an intriguing middle game. Black's knight trek to d7 appears to be a slight misstep. Let's now turn our attention to a more promising line that black could have pursued but unfortunately overlooked. Black's bishop nudges g6, pressuring white's rook to fall back to f4. Black then executes a promising knight diversion to b4, baiting white's bishop into a trade. The board shows equal material, but rich dynamics. The board is ripe for tactical battles, with a focus on white's vulnerable pawns. Black should maximize rook activity, exploit knight tactics, and always be ready for complex exchanges, keeping an upper hand. Let's now pivot back to the main line of action. In a surprising series of exchanges, black's knight misstep to d7 leads to an unfortunate rook trade. White's rook move to b1, though questionable, results in a profitable pawn snipe, giving white a slight advantage. This position favors white's vigilant defense and opportunistic counterattacks, especially along the b-file and central squares. Despite black's slight advantage, white can seize the initiative through tactical exchanges. Black's queen serves a checking gambit, followed by b5 pawn abduction. White's dubious bishop move to b2 invites black's bishop to capture a2. White repositions to d4, but black now holds a marginal material advantage. White now poses a dangerous threat to outfox black, the capture of black's queen on b6. If executed, this could flip the game, catapulting white from a trailing position to a victorious one. A strategic dance unfolds as black's knight moves to c5, countered by white's rook shift to c1. Black's dubious bishop foray to b3 prompts white's queen to reposition to e1. Black's bishop maneuver to e6 seems dubious, a slight misstep in their strategy. Let's now delve into a more promising alternative that black could have capitalized on. Black advances pawn to a4, provoking white's queen to b4. Black's queen then moves to e6, maintaining material edge and setting up potential tactical motifs. The board teems with potential as pieces maneuver for control, with black's extra pawn and knight contesting white's extra bishop. Key battlegrounds are the c5 square, d3 pawn, and the looming queenside clash. Let's now delve into the game's actual progression. Black's dubious bishop move to e6 provokes white's queen to f2. As rooks maneuver to the c-file, white's bishop and knight reposition to e3 and d4 respectively, adding tension to the center. In the unfolding chess drama, pushing the pawn to b4 would be a misstep for black. Instead, black wisely shifted their bishop to f7. Let's now examine the potential pitfalls that made b4 a dangerous detour. In our hypothetical sideline, black's pawn push to b4 prompts white's bishop to f4. Black's rook then retreats to c8, subtly shifting the balance of the game. Here's a thrilling chess puzzle. Can you spot white's best move? Share your thoughts in the comments. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. The battlefield intensifies as white's knight captures black's bishop, only to be taken by black's queen. A flurry of pawn moves ensues, culminating in white snatching black's knight on c5. Now, black's move. The most likely trajectory of the game would be as follows. In a strategic maneuver, black advances the b-pawn, eyeing promotion. White's rook blocks, but black's queen infiltrates, and the rook snatches a pawn on c5. The tension escalates. It's white's turn to respond. White, with a slight material advantage, is closing in on victory by consolidating position, cautiously maneuvering pieces, neutralizing black's counterplay, and setting up potential for a decisive checkmate. The endgame tension is palpable. Now, we're steering back to the main line of play. The tension ratchets up as a series of captures erupts. White's knight snags black's rook, triggering a cascade of captures culminating with black's queen seizing control of c6. It's white's move. In a tantalizing turn of events, black is poised to deliver a checking blow with its queen to h1, a move that could tip the scales further in black's favor. Let's delve into this menacing threat. Black's queen springs into action, delivering a check that forces white's queen into a fatal trap. The queens are exchanged, after which black repositions a knight to e6. Now, white must plan his counter. In this heated encounter, black's knights and advancing pawns threaten white, despite the latter's rook running amok. The a-pawn's promotion possibility adds suspense, giving black a slight edge overall. It's time to return to the main line. Swiftly, white's bishop vanquishes black's knight, while black's pawns inch forward. The royal dance begins as kings and queens glide across the board, culminating with black's queen threateningly landing on g2. White's move. Despite having less material, black's pieces are active and threatening. Black creatively utilizes knights and bishops, balancing material and launching spicy checks, making the position slightly favoring white. A captivating dance ensues between queens, vying for dominance. However, black's queen makes a questionable foray to a2, delivering a check. It's a thrilling moment as white gets ready to counter. Black's pieces actively contest the board, generating threats and checks. Despite the pressure, white retains a slight edge, deftly maneuvering to neutralize black's forces while safeguarding his own king. White's rook and queen cleverly repel the black queen, snapping up an a5 pawn in the process. The black queen repositions with a punch, landing on d5 after a bold b3 pawn push. It's white's move. Black's knight is eyeing white's pawn on d3 with a voracious appetite. If it dares to feast on that pawn, it could tilt the scales dramatically in black's favor, transforming the position from slightly advantageous to a nearly winning situation. Let's delve into this potent threat with a side variation exploration. Black's knight gobbles up white's pawn on d3, asserting a menacing presence and creating complex challenges for white to navigate. The game is likely to unfold in the following manner. White's pawn eliminates the encroaching black knight on d3, resetting the dynamics of the board. Welcome to this intriguing chess puzzle. Can you pinpoint black's best move? Share your insights below. 3, 2, 1, go. Black's queen storms in with a check, forcing white's bishop to e3. The queen then captures white's queen, gaining a decisive material advantage. Several viable moves are available to white in this position. White's king retreats, but black's bishop swoops in, delivering check. White's pawn parries, but the bishop captures, landing a lethal checkmate. Let's shift gears and explore a different variation. In this alternative scenario, White's king attempts to flee to safety, but Black's bishop and queen coordinate a lethal attack. The bishop's probing checks force White's king further into the corner, while the queen infiltrates White's defenses. Despite the best efforts of White's bishop and rook, they are unable to stave off the impending doom. Black's queen and bishop artfully navigate the board, tightening the noose around the White king. Eventually, the queen delivers the final blow, a checkmate, signaling the end of this thrilling variation. Now let's delve into the real game continuation. White's queen boldly challenges Black, leading to an exchange of queens. Black then advances a pawn-threatening promotion. White's rook immediately counter-threatens, creating a tense standoff. Look closely, chess enthusiasts. This position unfolded into a captivating chess puzzle. Black unearthed the optimal move during the match. Take a moment, pause, and see if you can also discover Black's masterstroke. Ready to dive in? 3, 2, 1, let's go! Black's bishop slyly relocates to a2, baiting White's rook into capturing the b2 pawn. The board is set for Black's next ingenious play. Take a moment, dear chess fans. Here lies another intriguing chess puzzle. During the game, Black cracked this enigma. Pause, ponder, and see if you too can unlock Black's brilliant move. All set? Let's embark on this adventure. 3, 2, 1, let's unveil. Black's knight deftly slides to c4, giving check. The White king moves, falling into Black's trap as the knight snatches the White rook. Remarkable play. Despite a flurry of pawn advances, tactical exchanges, and complex maneuvers, the board remains in a delicate equilibrium. Both sides are geared up for a tense, evenly poised endgame showdown. The riveting battle concludes, settling into a hard-fought draw.